Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by, once again coming your way with a movie review for a relatively new movie. I was able to see this on Peacock, having whatever I have, I don't know what, Peacock Premium, at the wonderful introductory rate of a year trial for $2 a month. They recently added this movie to Peacock if you've got a subscription or whatever, or prescription or whatever the hell you want to call it. I had some, interest in seeing this for free or for not very much money. Coming at you to review the latest M. Night Shyamalan movie by the name of Knock at the Cabin. And every time I think of that title or hear that title, I want to say knock at the cabin door. It just seems, it doesn't seem like a complete title, because you don't knock at the cabin, you knock at the cabin door. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But Knock at the Cabin. Now, I wouldn't call myself by any means an M. Night Shyamalan fan. I think what he does, or what he did in the old days, and I haven't seen, I can't even remember the last time I've seen one of his movies. It might not have been since The Happening, honestly. But I mean, The Sixth Sense is okay. I do like Signs. Village was okay. I didn't like Lady in the Water, and I think, I don't know if he did he do The Happening after Lady in the Water? I don't remember, but sometime after Lady in the Water / Happening, I kind of just gave up, and I haven't seen anything of his until just recently. The reason this interested me is, if you know anything about me and my interests and likes, is I'm a big fan of the woods and cabins in the woods and all this kind of stuff. So I figured I'd see this at some point. Turns out I just recently did see it, and it's a typical M. Night Shyamalan movie. One thing I will say about this movie, and just in regards to just M. Night Shyamalan in general, I do like his cinematic style in shooting and editing and framing of shots, and his cinematic style. And that's one thing, this is, like I say, the first M. Night Shyamalan movie I've seen possibly since The Happening. I'm not sure, but in a while. Haven't seen many of his recent movies at all. And he's still got, in my opinion, that really great just cinematic style, and I love how he shoots and cuts and stuff. And this movie definitely does follow through with that, obviously taking place primarily in this wooded area with a really cool cabin there. So I guess this movie's based on a novel, so it's not like he came up with it all on his own. But then obviously, I can't remember if he penned the screenplay with someone else or himself or whatever, but regardless, the movie is basically about my two dads who rent, basically a my two dads and an adopted daughter situation, who I think rent this cabin to just spend a weekend, whatever, at this cabin. And what ends up happening is, the beginning of the movie is the daughter is catching grasshoppers, and this guy, you may or may not know him. He I think he really kind of, his claim to fame was Guardians of the Galaxy and like Blade Runner Part 2, and it's just so many movies he's been in recently. And honestly, for being like a steroid muscle-bound guy, his performance in this movie, I mean, he's definitely more than muscles, And what's great about this movie is that this is an opportunity for Dave Bautista, or whatever the hell his last name is, the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, to actually do some acting in this movie, and I think he does relatively well. So this adopted girl, we find out later, this adopted girl with a fixed, most likely, cleft lip or whatever it's called, born with a cleft lip and since been fixed and stuff, she's still got the scar, as often will happen with those kind of situations, is catching grasshoppers. This ominous, well-dressed Dave Bautista's coming up and seems very friendly and this and that, and he's just through dialogue, it's one of those tense situations where it's just what's he going to do, just grab her any minute by the neck and just break her neck like a twig or whatever. But that doesn't end up happening. He ends up saying something scary that makes her run into the cabin and alert her to adoptive dads and to the situation, and they basically become hostage by these four just random people who came together online. All four of them on their own saw visions of the end of the world and came together online and came together in person to do this. And I guess their visions said they had to go to this cabin at this time and do this with these people. This is going to be a spoiler-free review, just because, I don't know, it's easier, it'll take less time to do a spoiler-free review. Plus, if a lot of people haven't seen this, and I'm just going to do a spoiler-free review in this case, and it'll just be a shorter and easier review. But the four people come to this place all together to do this thing, and basically the thing, I don't even know, the thing is, I don't know how much I can say without spoiling it, but I think I can say this without spoiling it, which is they basically, all four separately didn't know each other, had visions about the end of the world, and then they all, I guess, had visions to go to this one, they met online, decided to go to this one spot, this cabin where My Two Dads has adoptive daughter, and they got to go basically tell these people that to avoid the end of the world, the three of them, the two dads and the adopted daughter, have to decide among themselves. One of them has to be sacrificed for the whole world to continue on. Otherwise, everyone on the planet will die, and My Two Dads and the adoptive daughter will live. They'd be the only three left alive to witness for the rest of their lives all the ruins and just hell on earth of just everyone else being dead and everything being destroyed or whatever. And the movie is just a process of that, and I guess I don't think I can really say much more without too heavily spoiling it. It is interesting that this is a movie that takes place in a cabin, and it's about sacrifice. And if you're familiar with the film that came out, I don't know, a decade or so ago by the name of Cabin in the Woods, it's also a movie that takes place in the woods in a cabin and is also about sacrifice. So go figure. Not exactly sure what the whole motif with sacrifice in a cabin in the woods is about, but this movie definitely follows that trend, just like with the film Cabin in the Woods. And I wasn't, if you saw my review of Cabin in the Woods, you'll know I wasn't a big fan of that film. I definitely like this one a lot more. It's definitely a situation that, I guess, in my opinion, keeps your interest. Like, it's like it's like 90 minutes long, an hour and 30 minutes before, not including the closing credits or whatever. It definitely kept my interest. It definitely kept you guessing, like, what's going to happen, midway through or whatever. You kind of get the idea that, without spoiling too much, I'll just say you kind of got an idea that something was going to drift this way, or this might happen this way or whatever. It's like your it definitely felt like it reminded me, and, there's no surprise here, it reminded me of an M. Night Shyamalan movie. That's because it is an M. Night Shyamalan movie, but definitely better, in my opinion, than Lady in the Water, which was just like a disaster as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, the setting of being in this really cool cabin in the beautiful woods, in this lake setting and stuff, helped me, because that's my freaking domain. That's the my area of what I love in the world and life and stuff. And like so many times in a movie like this that has like a very linear, one time taking place over the course of this, linear A to B in one location, this movie has a little bit of flashbacks to give you a little bit more information about the My Two Dads and the adoptive daughter situation. So things like that. Without spoiling too much, I guess that's pretty much it. The ending of the movie, I guess, in a way is, not that I could necessarily guess it before it ended, but now that I know how it ends, it's kind of like, yeah, it figures. That figures how that would kind of end. It's not a movie that I'd probably buy it on Blu-ray for like $3 or less, just because of the beautiful. I just like the way it's shot and cut, and obviously the environment it takes place in. But in my opinion, it doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of rewatch value, because this is a kind of movie that, the best experience, in my opinion, of watching this movie is going to be the first time. And there's several stories, like several kind of movies like that, where it's mostly about one watch is the best watch, and then everything else. It's kind of like, once you know how it ends, it's kind of like almost pointless to rewatch it. But I'd rewatch it just to see the beautiful locations and stuff like that. So I guess I can go as high as 2.5 stars out of 4 stars for Knock at the Cabin. Like I say, I'm just it's hard for me to not say Door. Knock at the Cabin, Door. I just think that that's more complete title than Knock at the Cabin. I mean, you might as well just call it Knock at the while you're at it, because it just feels incomplete. Knock at the Cabin. What? Window, door, wall is Knock at the Cabin something. But anyway, it is called Knock at the Cabin, the latest M. Night Shyamalan opus. Incidentally, Beth and I started it, and I finished it. She fell asleep, but I think she was kind of under the weather and feeling sick, and possibly on some kind of whatever you know, whatever. You know, she was just, anyway, Beth fell asleep halfway through. It's understandable. It's a movie that, you know, not everyone's going to be everyone's cup of tea, and honestly, it's not completely what I'd necessarily even call my cup of tea, but it's not something that I think is horrible. I mean, I like this much more than Megan, for example, the, you know, AI doll, killer doll thing. You know, this movie at least has I really like the sense of, you know, the cinematic style it has, and M. Night Shyamalan's storytelling and his pacing and stuff like that. It's all present. It's just not crazy amazing for rewatchability value, I guess. But I guess that'll pretty much do it for my review at Knock at the Cabin Door. That's what I'm gonna call it. Thank you very much for watching this review, and as always, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll definitely catch you the next time you click on one of the next videos or audios or whatever I do. Catch you later.